Capital Views is sponsored by Northrim Bank, Alaska Oil and Gas Association, ConocoPhillips, and Linden.
Hi, I'm Tim Bradner with Alaska Legislative Digest, and welcome today to Jamie Benson, president of the Alaska Trucking Association. It's one of the oldest of the state's trade groups, and there's the old saying, if you got it, it came by truck. So anyway, welcome, Jamie. Welcome to our Capital Views program.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So Jamie, tell us, the ATA was formed in 1958, I understand, pre-statehood. Tell us a little bit about how many members do you have? What do you do?
So we have 130 members across Alaska, and that is the larger carriers, the LTL, to the smaller carriers, owner operators, and then also support groups. So anyone that supports the trucking industry, from technology to supplies. Yeah, we have a very wide and varied membership.
Well, that's certainly a lot of activity these days in your industry. But Jamie, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and how long you've been with ATA.
So I started with FedEx in 1994. I was in college at the time, and I was enticed to go to FedEx because they had a great tuition reimbursement program, and started as a handler. And over the span of 30 years, I worked myself up into upper management. And it was with FedEx that I was actually exposed to Alaska trucking for the first time, because I managed on-road couriers and long-haul drivers. So in an effort to focus on safety and getting my team to produce or to perform safely within a year and be able to compete in the state truck driving championships, I got involved with ATA, which quickly led to being on the board and board president. So I've had a long history with ATA.
Tell us about the truck driving championships.
Truck driving championships are held once a year, and we have 8 classes that can compete in it. So essentially, a driver has to be safe for 12 months of the year so that they can compete. And the different levels go from step van and box truck all the way up to double trailer, tractor trailer. So we have 8 different classes and axles. And so our goal is to have as many folks as possible compete, because that means that they've been safe all year. And what we do is we do a obstacle course, a safety obstacle course, a pre-trip, and a safety knowledge, industry knowledge test. And those 3 combined scores place the drivers, and then they move on to national competition. And this year it's actually being held. It's always held at a larger city or state on Midwest or East Coast. It's in Pittsburgh this year.
I'm always impressed, Jamie, with how skilled drivers can maneuver trucks on the highways, backup trucks, backing into narrow streets. It's an amazing thing to watch sometimes.
It absolutely is. And the course is really great to watch, because obviously we want to prepare the drivers for what they're going to see at nationals. But the amount of skill and paying attention to your surroundings it takes just in your average daily drive on good roads it's incredible.
Jamie, I have heard you talk in legislative briefings a couple of times, and a couple of things you've mentioned. You obviously, the industry is concerned with the condition of the Dalton Highway. That's our lifeline to the North Slope. What's your thoughts on that? The conditions, what's it like on the Dalton, and how are drivers dealing with it?
So I was first introduced to the Dalton a couple years ago when I took this role, and I wanted to know more about it. So I have had the privilege of riding the Dalton 3 times in the past year and a half. And I would say that, yes, it's absolutely a lifeline. It's so critical to the state's economy and employment. The challenges with the Dalton are that the northern region is very adversarial for vehicles. So this 500-mile stretch from Fairbanks to Prudhoe, it's essentially a gravel road. And actually, that's the best scenario for this road. It's called the Dalton Highway, but its nickname is the Hall Road. And it being a gravel road is actually more ideal for our vehicles because if you pave the road in that environment, you're creating a lot of frost heaves that can just impact the vehicles. So we talk a lot about support for maintaining the infrastructure of this road. And the reason why it's so critical is because it's one way in, one way out. So at the very end being the oil fields and everyone who supports the oil fields. But if this road isn't maintained so that you can travel back and forth on it, the delays for trucking, the delays for our suppliers, the delays for our customers at the far end can be astronomical and detrimental. The focus on the infrastructure safety is mostly on providing enough maintenance to keep the road open and safe. And if Mother Nature has her way, and she usually does, it's not for the Dalton Highway. So they're facing, over 500 miles, you can imagine you're facing all sorts of weather systems. And another big challenge on this road is that there's not a lot of great service or emergency services. So if something were to happen to a driver along this road, it puts them in a position where, they can be at risk. So the reason we focus so highly on the Dalton Highway and our carriers on that road is because they're doing a tremendous job of being safe in an environment that is just inherently not designed for us to travel. But, we are very lucky to have resources on the North Slope. So our carriers are doing anything and everything to make sure that they can grow the economy.
Jamie, did I hear mention of a big erosion incident on the northern end of the Dalton? Again, it seems to be happen every year, but there was one last year where something like 120 trucks were backed up.
Yeah, that was last June, I believe. For 4 days, we had a washout. And again, that was caused by just the natural environment of a road in the Arctic. But DOT did an amazing job of getting out there as soon as possible. But again, a perfect example of one part of the road is washed out or impacted, and you've got 120 trucks waiting on either side to travel.
And that was like a couple of days delay in terms of
It took them 4 days to do the repair, which it was a huge repair. I mean, they had to replace a culvert. It was washed out. So you basically had to rebuild the road and bridge for it to be operational and safe, because the trucks that are traveling along this road they are not like cars. And this is also a public road. So, we have a lot of concerns and focus on the safety around the public as well on this road. But the weight that these vehicles are and what they are carrying, say they're carrying a full load of pipe that's going on the North Slope, you're talking about 80,000 pounds going across this road. So that's why proper maintenance and infrastructure is so critical.
Well, something to think about and something to long conversations with the legislature about that, I'm sure. So anyway,
yes, and they've been absolutely supportive.
yeah. And JB, thanks for joining us. We'll continue this conversation.
All right, thank you for having me.